disrespected you, didn't they? Laughed behind your back, underestimated you, treated you like you were nothing. And they expected a reaction. They wanted to see you mad. They wanted to see you break. Because that's how they win. See, when you explode, when you lash out, when you throw your energy back at them, that's when they know they got to you. But what happens when you give them nothing? What happens when you just go silent? They don't want your silence. They want chaos. They want proof that their words hurt you, that their disrespect had weight, that their opinions mattered. Because the moment you stop reacting, they start panicking. They start questioning themselves. Did I really get to them? Did they even care? And that's when the real torture begins. See, silence, it's not weakness, it's strategy. Because the second you stop giving them attention, that's the second their power over you dies. Think back to a time when someone disrespected you. Maybe it was a friend who turned their back on you. Maybe it was a boss who never saw your worth. Maybe it was someone you trusted, who threw your name in the dirt like it meant nothing. What did you do? You fought back. You defended yourself. You tried to prove them wrong. Did it change anything? Did it make them respect you? Did it undo the disrespect? Number, because they never cared about the truth. They only cared about controlling your reaction. And that's where you lost. Because every time you respond, every time you try to explain yourself, you're giving them what they want, your energy. But what if you stopped? What if you gave them absolutely nothing? What if, instead of arguing, proving, explaining, you just disappeared into the silence? You think silence is weakness. You think it means you lost. Number, silence is the one thing they can't fight. The one thing that makes them question everything. Because when you react, they control you. When you go silent, they lose sleep over you. They play back every word, every insult, every disrespect. Wondering if they went too far. Wondering why you didn't break. Wondering what's coming next. And that's the real power. So, I'll ask you again. Do you really think fighting back makes you strong? Or is it the silence after the disrespect that truly destroys them? You've been taught to fight, taught to defend yourself, taught that standing up means throwing punches, physical or verbal. But real power, it isn't found in anger. It isn't found in clapping back. It's found in silence. That's the part they never tell you. That's the secret they don't want you to know. Because silence does something to people. Something far worse than words ever could. It makes them question everything. When you react, you give them an answer. When you respond, they get closure. But when you go silent, they're left with a storm in their own mind. And that is torture. Because the human brain hates uncertainty. It needs conclusions, explanations, some kind of validation. But when you refuse to give them that, they spiral. At first, they act like they don't care, like your silence doesn't bother them. Deep down, it eats away at them. Because they expected a fight. They expected a reaction. They expected you to prove them right. But when you don't, They have to sit alone with their own actions. And suddenly, the words they threw at you don't feel so powerful anymore. Suddenly, they're left alone with their own reflection. For the first time, they see the truth. They see their own insecurity, their own weakness, their own pathetic need for control. And that realization is unbearable. There were two men. Both were betrayed. Both were humiliated. Both were spit on and disrespected. The first man, he fought back. He screamed. He argued. He lashed out. And what happened? They laughed. They called him crazy. They said, "See? Look how weak he is. Look how desperate he is." His reaction didn't hurt them. It fed them. It gave them exactly what they wanted. But the second man, he said nothing. Not a word. He just looked at them. Calm. Unreadable. Then walked away. At first, they celebrated. They thought they won. But that night, when everything went quiet, their own minds turned against them. What if he's planning something? What if he's already ahead of us? What if we made a mistake? They played it over and over in their heads. They lost sleep. They lost focus. And in the end, the man who said nothing was the one who truly won. Now tell me, which one do you want to be? The one who wastes their energy proving themselves to people who don't deserve it? Or the one who walks away, leaving them haunted by their own actions? The one who begs for respect? Or the one who makes them regret ever disrespecting you in the first place? Because when you stop giving them your energy, you stop being their puppet. You stop playing their game. You stop letting them win. And that is where your true power begins. There was a man who gave everything and lost it all. He was loyal. He was kind. He showed up when no one else did. And what did they do? They turned on him, mocked him, used him, then threw him away like he was nothing. At first, he wanted revenge, wanted to make them feel his pain, wanted them to know what it felt like to be discarded, humiliated, and underestimated. But then, he realized something. They wanted him angry. They wanted him broken. Because that would prove they still had power over him. So instead, he did the one thing they never expected. He went silent. No words, no explanations, no reactions. And that was when the tables turned. At first they laughed, called him weak, said, "See? He's nothing without us." But then the laughter stopped. Because while they wasted their breath, he was building. While they kept his name in their mouths, he was moving in silence. And suddenly they started to notice. He wasn't falling apart. He wasn't begging for their approval. He wasn't even thinking about them anymore. And that made them panic. Because they needed him to care. They needed him to fight back. They needed his energy to survive. But he gave them nothing. And that nothing was heavier than any words he could have spoken. It sat on their chests like a weight they couldn't shake. It followed them into their dreams. It made them question every word, every action, every choice. And in the end, he won. Not by shouting, not by proving himself, not by seeking revenge, by simply moving forward and letting his silence haunt them forever. You see, pain isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to shape you. Think about fire. It burns, it destroys. But in the hands of a master, it forges steel. Pain is no different. It can break you if you let it. Or it can turn you into something untouchable. Something they can't break. Something they can't control. Because the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop feeding their need for power, is the moment you become the fire. And they become the ones who burn. You don't need revenge. You don't need their validation. You don't even need an apology. Because their punishment isn't your job. Their punishment is waking up every day knowing they lost access to you. Knowing that their words meant nothing. Knowing that while they were focused on you, you were focused on becoming unstoppable. So ask yourself, do you still think your silence is weakness? Or is it the most powerful weapon you've ever had? You were never weak. You were never small. You were never the fool they thought you were. The truth, you were always becoming. Every betrayal, every insult, every moment of disrespect, it wasn't breaking you, it was sharpening you. And now you're something else entirely. Now you understand a power most people will never grasp. The power of silence. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of defeat, but the silence of control. You see, people don't know what to do with silence. They know how to fight words. They know how to battle rage. They know how to throw fire back at fire. But silence is like a mirror. It forces them to see themselves, to hear their own words echo back at them, to sit with their own actions without distraction. And that destroys them. Because now they have to deal with the truth. The truth that they disrespected someone who never needed them. The truth that they tried to break someone who only got stronger. And worst of all, the truth that their opinion never mattered in the first place. You don't need their validation. You never did. For too long, you lived for their approval. For too long, you wanted them to see your worth. But now you understand. You don't need them to see it. You don't need them to understand it. You don't need them at all. Because the truth is, people only try to control what they fear losing. They only disrespect what they know is greater than them. And you were always greater. They knew it. That's why they tried to break you. That's why they needed your reaction. But now, all they have is silence. And that silence, it's killing them. They tried to break you, but they only built a monster. You don't seek revenge. You don't beg for respect. You don't fight battles that aren't worth your time. Because you are no longer at their level. And nothing terrifies them more than knowing you've moved on. No words, no explanations, no second chances. Just silence, and a version of you they will never have access to again. Let that haunt them. Let that be your final message. Because in the end, you never needed to raise your voice. You never needed to prove them wrong. You never needed to fight back. All you ever needed was to walk away. And now they live with the weight of knowing they lost something they will never get back. They underestimated you. They disrespected you. They thought they could break you. Now they sit in silence, haunted by the emptiness you left behind. Because here's the truth. You never lost anything. They did. They lost access to your presence. They lost the privilege of hearing your voice. They lost the right to know what's going on in your world. And now, they're left with questions. Questions they'll never get answers to. Are they mad at me? Do they even care? Did I make a mistake? You see, silence isn't weakness. Silence is the loudest sound they'll ever hear. You want to know what drives people insane? Not words, not revenge, not war, but emptiness. A void where your energy used to be. That's why they keep checking your page. That's why they still mention your name. That's why they bring you up in conversations, hoping someone has an update. Because your silence, it's a wound they can't heal. And the best part, you don't have to do anything. No arguments, no explanations, no proving yourself. You just keep moving. While they stay stuck in the past, replaying their mistakes like a broken record, you are already 10 steps ahead, building something greater than they ever imagined. You never needed to fight them. You never needed to prove your worth. Because the moment you walked away in silence, you already won. Let them drown in the weight of their own disrespect. Let them sit with the regret of losing you. Let them live with the knowledge that their words didn't break you. Because in the end, your silence will break them in ways anger never could. So now, you have a choice. You can waste your energy fighting battles that don't matter. You can keep explaining yourself to people who never deserved you. You can keep chasing closure from those who never gave a damn. Or you can let silence do the talking. You can let your success be your response. You can let your absence be their punishment. Because nothing is more powerful than the silence after the disrespect. And trust me, they feel it. This is how you destroy them, without lifting a single finger. Now go, move in silence, and let them drown in it. If this hit deep, if you know exactly what I'm talking about, if you've been through the fire and came out stronger, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because this is just the beginning. We're just getting started. We don't chase approval. We don't beg for validation. We rise in silence. And if you're ready to keep leveling up, if you're ready to move with power, then stay with me. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. And remember, your silence is their worst nightmare.